friendly. I did my pledge this morning. And it really was easy. So, and then that blue heart will start turning red, you know, as it gets more oxygen. Hi, Trista. How are you doing? Terrific. Terrific. So I'll do the joys and concerns again, Anne.
Okay.
Unless you want to do them yourself.
Well, I can recognize people. I think there's sort of two roles. One is to kind of see who's like raising their hand physically and looking like they really want to talk. And then there's people who are chatting. So pick one and I'll pick the other.
Okay.
Hard to do both.
We're trying to do it in order, you know, do the ones that raise their hands in the chat first, and then the chat, and then the people on the end. So if you have a bigger screen, or, you know, that's harder to do. Maybe we should start with those people, but I figured they should get points for knowing how to raise their hand in the participant bar.
Yeah, I get bonus points. Okay. Well.
So I'll do those two, and maybe you can look for raised hands while I'm reading the chat box.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is that good? Okay.
And are there any committee moments that you're aware of?
Chris?
Besides that?
No. You know, I didn't think to send out the email, but.
Paul is raising his hand.
Paul is? Hi, Paul.
I don't even see Paul.
That was an accident? You know, look, doesn't he look like he has a little dome on his head?
It does, yeah.
It's like, was that on purpose? All right, I'm going to move to my other computer. I shall return over there.
Okay, I'll give you co-hosting over there too. Patrick, you look really.
Everybody on mute for now, just so that we can have a quiet, shared, sacred space. Is that right, Judith?
Yep. So I'm going to do that. That's going to mute you also.
Okay. There we go. I'm unmuted, right?
I'm unmuted. Yep.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Just so we know a little bit about this space, physically we would normally be in east side of Orlando, but now we are on the virtual platform. So we just ask you to keep yourself on mute during the sort of general service times. We'll have opportunities to unmute you during joys and concerns, or if you're giving a committee moment. Take a moment now before we get too far into the committee moments, if you haven't already, to go find your chalice. I have my little chalice here, Jay, I have that funky background, so it's kind of hard to see, but if you want to go up and get your chalice, if you don't already have it in front of you, feel free to do that now. And we'll light it in a couple of minutes. Before we get into the meat of the program today, it's an opportunity now for any committees to share any important issues related to their committee. Does anybody have anything that they would like to say? I have a couple, but I'll go ahead and let anybody who's a committee member raise their hand. Chris is raising her hand. David's raising his hand. Chris, is yours about the pledge drive, or we're going to do that at the end? Can we do that at the end?
No.
No, we're doing it at the beginning. Okay.
This part of it, I'm sorry, part of it we'll do at the beginning. And then, we can have a little wrap up at the end. You meant at the end of the committee moments?
That's what
did you mean? I'm sorry. Did you mean at the end of the committee moments?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Chloe McElroy also had her hand up for committee moments, right?
Okay. Yes. All right. So David McElroy, can you unmute him, mute him, Judith, please?
Yeah, I can try.
Or I can do it.
There we go. There we go.
All right. Tomorrow night, 6:30 is the men's support group Zoom meeting. I sent that out to everybody on the mailing list. If you don't, I don't know if it's, I think it's on the notable news, my email address. So if you are not included and you want to be included, be sure and email me, or, you can text me, however you want to do it. Then just let me know if you want to be a part of it, and I can send you the meeting ID. So thanks. Tomorrow night, 6:30, men's support group.
Thanks, David. Roberta? Hold on a second. Let's Judith, wait, Roberta, let Judith unmute you first. Hold on a second.
Did you want to mention the women's group that we're not meeting next week, but in 2 weeks about Mother's Day?
Yeah, the women's group's going to meet on Friday, May 8th via Zoom.
Did you hear that, Marilyn?
It's going to be, I'll send out an email with all the details. And we're going to focus, since it's Mother's Day weekend, we're going to focus on either talking a little bit about our own mothers, or if that's not your topic of choice, your role as a mother. And if neither of those suit your fancy, then you can talk about something else. So stay tuned for an email with the details. Chloe McElroy was next, I think.
Hi, I am here to represent Millennial Group. We are meeting on Zoom this Wednesday at 6:30. And anyone 21 and up who considers themselves a Millennial Plus is welcome to join. We have a Facebook group. I think I sent the information to Trista, so it should be in notable news. But if you need any more information, please just let me know. 6:30 Zoom.
Thank you.
Wednesday.
Got it. And looks like, did Roy, you have your hand raised, or is that your cigar again?
Cigar, I'm almost finished.
Okay. I'm trying to look at all the three. Any other committee moments beside Chris?
Amy Gray.
Ray?
Oh.
Amy Mowbray.
Go ahead, Amy.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to let everybody know that Chris and we're not having a youth group Zoom today from 4 to 5. And all the parents should have received a text message this morning from me on their phones explaining why. So get in touch with me if you didn't get that message. I think I've heard back from everybody though. Just want to let you guys know we'll be Zooming again next Sunday from 4 to 5 for youth group. Thanks.
Thanks, Amy. All right, Chris.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We have usually begun our pledge drive by now, and the board has been working very hard to try to figure out what the heck to do. And we have a wonderful letter that has, most of them have been mailed out, but if you haven't gotten one yet, you should be soon, explaining the whole thing and giving you ways to pledge or to get to the pledge pages that are on our website. But I would like to read you part of the letter because it's just very heartfelt and it's a message we want to share. Love is the spirit of this church and service is its gift. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. A pandemic pledge drive 2020. Triple U has now been in existence for 27 years. Every spring since our founding, our members have enjoyed gathering together in settings both small and community-wide to share hopes and plans for our church's future. Money is but one of the tools that sustains our community, albeit an important tool. Our annual pledge drive events allow us to discuss how we will financially support our operations and outreach at our UU home and into our world at large. Over the years, there have certainly been economic and societal factors that have challenged us all. With the arrival of COVID-19, we're now experiencing an unprecedented time in history together. A month ago, your board was still hopeful, excuse me, that we would be enjoying each other's company at a pledge season kickoff, delayed until late April. We're so fortunate to be part of this vibrant, multi-generational community. A party to honor this seems so fitting after what we hoped would be a few weeks of social distancing. Then the new reality settled over us all, the importance of continuing, excuse me, to protect each other requires that we support and celebrate this fellowship in a completely new way. Here's our plan B. Please take some time to reflect on what University UU Fellowship means to you and your family. Think about the ways that this community enriches and blesses your life. Take time to acknowledge the friends and members no longer alive who gave their time and treasure for collective years in order to make possible this community in our lives today. Acknowledge that there is a real uncertainty in this time and that we are all grappling with many unsettling unknowns. And the letter goes on in some detail to describe what we have done, what our thoughts are, and how we proceed, how we can proceed. It's a very informative letter and very heartfelt, and too long for me to read it all to you, but it is available now on our website as our links to the pledge form and the UUA's guide to giving. And so we hope that you will take advantage of the various ways that we have to help support each other. And if you have questions, reach out to us because we're still meeting weekly, and know that we love you, care for you, and are so appreciative of all of the support that you've given us so far. So take care, and we'll talk to you weekly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. It looks like we might have a question in the hand raised by the Mowbrays. Is that right? Or that was just a blip? Okay. Okay. I think that was a clap. Oh, that was a clap. Sorry. Yay. That was a collective clap, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership. In these times that, like, we always keep hearing it's unprecedented, and most people have not ever been through anything like this before. So we appreciate all the work that the board has done to continue to work under these circumstances, and looking forward to a good pledge drive this year.
Thank you.
So my opening words today are by Alberto Rios. He's a U.S. academic and writer, professor at Arizona State University. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. Giving is, first and every time, hand to hand, mine to yours, yours to mine. You give me blue, I give you yellow. Together we are simple green. You give me what you did not have, and I give you what I have to give. Together, we made something greater from the difference. I invite you now to grab your chalice if you have one, and I have my little one here. And get this. You can see with my little background here. And say with me together in your homes, in the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. I also welcome you to say together with those who are in the room with you, or just to each other collectively, love is the spirit of this church and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome any visitors that we may have on our virtual platform here. We are a lay-led congregation, which means every week is different. We have topics that vary from social action to the spiritual, to religious, to everything in between, the arts. And we invite you to join us virtually, and then hopefully one day in person again soon. If we were together in our building together, we would be giving everybody a hug right now, or a handshake at least. So I invite you to give yourself a quick little hug and say, welcome. And if you were here with us, visitors, we would be welcoming you too. So I hope that you'll stay with us and keep joining us week after week, and then hopefully one of these days in person as you're able to. Now is a time in our service where we share our joys and concerns. It's an opportunity for those who may have a concern to have that burden lifted a little bit with a little help from others, and those who have some great joys. Hopefully there are some during these times. So if you would like to mention a joy or concern, we're starting first by those people who are using the raise your hand function in Zoom. We'll call on those first, and Martha is kind of looking at that functions first. And then if you're technologically challenged, or if you're just on the phone and you can't raise your hand, then you may, I don't know, say somehow indicate some other way. let's just take a moment to just for silent meditation for a moment. Think about some of the joys and concerns that may have not been shared, and generally for our community that's suffering during this pandemic. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing. Um, Now we will have our time for all ages. For those who are new to the congregation, this is an opportunity to link what children may be learning in religious education with what we're learning within the sanctuary, although we're all kind of all together now. So Judith, would you like to take that away?
Sure. So good morning. The message, the theme this morning between committee moments and now and my talk in a few moments is paying attention. So I am reading the story I am reading today. Many of our children may be familiar with. And maybe not. But it kind of goes along. Billy Bixby was rather surprised when he woke up one morning and found a dragon in his room. It was a small dragon, not about the size of a kitten. The dragon wagged its tail happily when Billy patted its head. Billy went downstairs to tell his mother, "There's no such thing as a dragon," said Billy's mother. And she said it like she meant it. Billy went back to his room and began to dress. The dragon came close to Billy and wagged its tail, but Billy didn't pat it. If there's no such thing as a dragon, if there's no such thing as something, it's silly to pat it on its head. Billy washed his face and hands and went down to breakfast. The dragon went along. It was bigger now, almost the size of a dog. Billy sat down at the table. The dragon sat on the table. This sort of thing was not usually permitted, but there wasn't much Billy's mother could do about it. She had already said there was no such thing as a dragon. And if there's no such thing, you can't tell it to get down off the table. Mother made some pancakes for Billy, but the dragon ate them all. Mother made some more, but the dragon ate those too. Mother kept making pancakes until they ran out of batter. Billy only got one of them, but he said that's all he really wanted anyway. We jumped ahead. There we go. Billy went upstairs to brush his teeth. Mother started clearing the table. The dragon time made him comfortable on the hall rug and went to sleep. By the time Billy came back downstairs, the dragon had grown so much he filled the hall. Billy had to go around by way of the living room to get to where his mother was. "I didn't know dragons grew so fast," said Billy. "There's no such thing as a dragon," said Mother firmly. Cleaning the downstairs took Mother all morning, what with the dragon in the way and having to climb in and out of windows to get from room to room. By noon, the dragon filled the house. Its head hung out the front door, its tail hung out the back door, and there wasn't a room in the house that didn't have some part of a dragon in it. When the dragon awoke from its nap, he was hungry. A bakery truck went by. The smell of fresh bread was more than the dragon could resist. The dragon ran down the street after the bakery truck. The house went along, of course, like the shell on a snail. The mailman was just coming out up the path with some mail for the Bixbys when their house rushed past him and headed down the street. He chased the Bixby's house for a few blocks, but he could not catch it. When Mr. Bixby came home for lunch, the first thing he noticed was the house was gone. Luckily, one of the neighbors was able to tell him which way it went. Mr. Bixby got in his car and went looking for the house. He studied all the houses as he drove along. Finally, he saw one that looked familiar. Billy and Mrs. Bixby were waving from an upstairs window. I would too. Mr. Bixby climbed over the dragon's head onto the front porch and went through the upstairs window. How did this happen? Mr. Bixby asked. It was the dragon, said Billy. There's no such thing, Mother started to say. There is a dragon, Billy insisted, a very big dragon, and Billy patted the dragon on the head. The dragon wagged its tail. The dragon wagged its tail happily, and then even faster than it had grown, the dragon started getting smaller. Soon it was kitten size again. I don't mind dragons this size, said Mother. Why did it have to grow so big? I'm not sure, said Billy, but I think it just wanted to be noticed. And that is this Time for All Ages today. And the message, if you didn't get it, you need to pay attention to things. You can't just ignore problems. We can't just ignore pandemics. We can't just ignore bank accounts. We have to act. Anne, it's back to you.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah, a lot of applause. I can see
That
a lot
was
of people
wonderful.
cheering. We like that. We like that. Thank you very much, Judith. Now is this time in our service for our interlude and offering. So if we were in the building, we would have maybe our house band playing or Colleen playing on the keyboards, but we are going to have music by the Dancing Queen, which I think that Patrick's going to put on in a second. And this is an opportunity to donate online. The URL is there on the website for you to donate. If you donate directly, you can directly right from your checking account to that site, and 40% of the loose offering. So when you go to the website, it'll be either your pledge or just plate offering goes to the Zebra Coalition, one of the many nonprofits in Florida and Orlando right now that is suffering because many of our local nonprofits depend on the generosity not only of individuals but of our big corporate sponsors. And as those big corporate sponsors are laying people off, they're not giving money to nonprofits. So please give generously, and we'll listen to Dancing Queen. I did see a few people dancing out there. Come on, people. The thing I'm most disappointed about with Susie being canceled is this serendipity and getting a chance to dance, because I never get a chance to do it in public during the year. So we'll have a big dance party when we're all back together again. Our speaker today is our own Judith Stein-Farrall. For those of you who don't know, Judith was born and raised in a combination of Greenwich Village and Dallas, Texas. And she's lived large portions of her life in New York, Connecticut, Northern California, Colorado, New Jersey, Texas, and then of course here where Judith moved. Was it been 4 years already, Judith? It feels, yeah, like time is flying. Has a bachelor's in arts from Goddard College, focused on comparative religion. And she is the parent of 2 grown-up children. And she also has an adopted 4.5-year-old dog, which is a mix of lots of different breeds. So, Judith, will you like to take it away? And her presentation today is called Dancing Forward.
Sure. Thank you. Let's see. Let me make sure I've got, oh, I know the part I didn't get done. Oh, no, I did. Good. All right. Share the screen. There we are. So I'm just going to start with a handshake. This is from Good Morning, Good Night, Little Pep Talks for You and Me by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Anyone that's in my covenant group or in meditation knows this is my favorite book of the moment. He's shaking hands, something I miss, engaging in complicated handshake, injures both of us both. Ow, worth it. Go get him. No, that's not my subject matter this morning. A long time ago in 1986, I think, in a place far, far away, Dallas, Texas, where I lived at that time, I had a sporadic relationship with a friend who had graduated from Abilene Christian University. Some of you may have actually heard me tell this story. He one day he invited me to go to an event called Sing Song at Abilene Christian University. It's a concert competition between the various groups on the college campus, various choirs. It's an annual event. It's pretty amazing. And after this service, I would encourage you all to Google it and see it for yourself and listen to it for yourself, but not right now. I got something to say. Anyway, so we're on our way to Abilene Christian University, and he, knowing very well that I had no experience with such a conservative community, tells me that I need to expect a few things. And one of the things he tells me is I should not try to hold his hand. He says, we can't hold hands when we get there. The rules at the school are no drinking, no dancing, no public displays of affection. Okay. So we get there and the show starts, and there's a host and hostess leading us through the proceedings, and each member, and between each number, the host and hostess are bopping around on the floor below us. And he leans over to me and he says, Judith, just want to let you know that's not dancing, because, you know, right before he had said that there was no dancing on this property, as well as public displays of affection. And so I was very confused. He goes, we don't dance here. That's called choreography. Okay. So, whoops. So, there we are. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, as the service description tells us, were beautiful and graceful and amazing and moving together in their musicals of the 30s and 40s. There was skill, there was style. They weaved their visual stories. They were engaging. They involved dance, of course. Certainly, it required a lot of planning and rehearsal. And while they were capable of it, what we saw wasn't truly ballroom dancing on a dance floor, as Miss Rogers talks about in this quote that described this sermon. It was choreography. I'm going to show you an example of choreography. Oops. Let me do it right. There we go. what we see on this screen and on ABC's Dancing with the Stars is also choreographed. This is what happens when two people get up and rehearse. What happens when two people get on a dance floor, like Ginger Rogers spoke about in the quote, is best when what happens when two people get out on the dance floor together to do what is often called ballroom dancing is not choreographed. It is usually spontaneous. It takes attention, perhaps skill, and can be learned, and certainly it takes a lot of practice. Actual live pickup play in the ballroom dance halls on the dance floor, like Ginger spoke of, is best when you can also talk and dance. And it takes partners willing to both give and to take and listen and respond and be present with one another. Perhaps this is why it is also different for some to hold the conversation at the same time, or it is difficult for some to hold the conversation at the same time, because it takes practice. The more you get out there and do it, the easier it gets. Dancers get to know the signals they need to move along. There is a rhythm that gives us a sense of the type of dance we are doing at any particular time. Some days it is as easy as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 waltz. And other times it is as hoppity hop, like a jive or a swing or a foxtrot, or swift and elegant. Each is a little different, and each takes a different energy level. Getting out on the dance floor takes partners and also takes courage, takes flexibility, it takes attention, much like coming into our church does for some of us. And more often we do it, the more familiar it becomes. It's never exactly the same, and still there are elements we can count on. The dance floor is the same way. There are things that are called the line of dance, which for those dances that move around the dance floor is the direction you're going on the dance floor. Oh, and just so you know, I know what I'm talking about. I learned to dance in a country western bar on 48th Street and 2nd Avenue in New York City. I used to take my babysitting money on Friday night, catch a bus uptown, and dance with folks a variety of ages. I was 21, 22 at the time. What was important to me was someone had enough skill to lead on a dance floor. And when you've got a good leader, they could gently press the heel of their hand on my back, and I understood we were turning. If they pulled me forward just a bit, I knew I was dancing forward. If they released tension on my back, I knew I was moving backwards. And if they did it right, it made for successful partnerships. So there's this thing I mentioned called the line of dance. As I said, it's the direction you're going on the dance floor. And I want to say it's usually counterclockwise. As the one not leading, I still had to pay attention when my partner was moving me along the line of dance. The leader is usually moving forwards and the follower is usually moving backwards, but sometimes it goes the other way, which takes us exactly to the quote that is attributed to Ginger also. The spirit of the quote applies, but it's not exactly true. Dancers do indeed do this. It's astounding. One person who is not leading takes the signals from the leader and often moves backwards around the dance floor, trusting they will not be led into a crash landing with another dancing couple. However, the dancer leading sometimes is not going forwards, and the partner is not always dancing backwards. So even then, it's not appropriate to crash into another couple, even if the leader doesn't have eyes in the back of their head. So the other person in the couple, it's a communal project, and that's how it works. The other person in the couple has to pay attention, even if they're not leading. If Ginger Rogers, the non-leader, has been turned around, so Ginger is now dancing forward, which does happen, and she sees that the leader, Fred Astaire, has not prepared for somebody coming up behind him, she needs to resist just enough to avoid the collisions. Ginger has, as part of the partnership, has to pay attention. This is the covenant in ballroom dancing between the dance partners as they go around the dance floor. A covenant to work together towards a common goal, a smooth and enjoyable turn of the floor. This covenant, this agreement between the partners, is a give and take. It's a matter of being present and committing. This is being on the dance floor because you are getting something out of it. Somewhere, for some reason, it's where you want to be, to connect with someone else. And my point is there is a combination of willingness to work together with someone on some level of familiarity and have the thrill of possibility with each dance you take part in. Now, back then, I did not always enjoy every single dance that I was part of. The Cotton-Eyed Joe was and still is my nemesis. It's got less partnership, less contact with one another, less ability to communicate, more guessing at what each of us dance partners is going to do next. Less lead and follow. It's kind of like taking a pop quiz in high school. The challenge is in the participation, however. Anyone can sit on the sidelines. Remember that in that Ginger Rogers quote in the service description, she said that some people cannot both dance and communicate at the same time. While Ginger was talking about the guy leading her around the dance floor, it can as easily refer to the person being led. If all sides of the partnership are not fully present on the dance floor, the other partner has to pick up the slack. So what does this have to do with us? With you, with any of us in the congregation, in this room, virtual as this room may be? Take a deep breath and consider that question. What does that metaphor of the dance floor, the music choice, the dance style, represent for you? What does it represent for us? The yin and yang of the partnership, the waltz, the foxtrot, the swing. We are all citizens of this earth on this dance floor. We can stay on the edges and not step up. Cannot join in with a partner or partners, but joining in with partners is a challenge. In the spirit of our world's current COVID-19 crisis, it might refer to figuring out what the dance floor boundaries are, or which direction the line of dance is going. It might mean insisting on clear and accurate communication to not be stalled out. In the spirit of our president's message this morning during the committee moments and the letters you may be receiving in the next few days, it may be about committing to being part of what is happening on the dance floor as best you can, cautiously learning a few steps. The UUF congregation and your board has a lot of decisions to make in the next few weeks and months. How and when to open your brick and mortar doors again, and starting to emerge from the quarantine or not, individually and as a group. How to make the experience meaningful and beneficial to all of you. What does that look like for you? Why do you come to this ballroom? Do you know who your partner is in this place? Who your partners are? Unitarian Universalism, like almost any truly inspired faith, Buddhism, Christianity as Jesus preached it, Judaism as the truly ingrained, live it, and many Native peoples shared experiences of their beliefs, are communal experiences. Unitarian Universalism is a communal experience, and it's evolving. It is a natural give and take, a trial and error. Notice what is important to you and find the dance style that fits. That's part of our principles. Do you remember that? Do you remember that second to last meeting we had on McCulloch Road, where Sarah demonstrated various ways of alternatives to not shaking hands? Well, I'm looking forward to us getting past that, getting past this, so we can forget that, so we can shake hands, engage in complicated handshake, injure us both. Oops. Oh, well, put it on ice and then get some rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judith. Very inspiring message. I see lots of clapping and head shaking and all that good stuff. Some right on, some namaste, all that good stuff. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And now it's time to extinguish our collective chalices. If you have one, I'm going to blow mine out and say these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. My closing words today were presented at a church service, a Vesper service at our old church in Cincinnati this past week, and I thought they were particularly heartwarming and have a lot to do with the whole dancing concept, right, of being together. Because I do think dancing with other people, dancing by yourself is okay, but I think generally dancing with others is a lot nicer, and being with others is nicer. So, The Breath of Life is Not Mine Alone by Kristen L. Harper. I do not wish to breathe another breath if it is not shared with others. The breath of life is not mine alone. I brought myself to be with you, hoping that by inhaling the compassion, the courage, the hope found here, I can exhale the fear, the selfishness, the separateness I keep so close to my skin. I cannot live another moment, at least not one of joy, unless you, that's all of you, and I find our oneness somewhere among each other, somewhere between the noise, somewhere within the silence of the next breath. So I welcome you all to hang out a little bit here in our virtual space and chat, to raise your hands. If you haven't had a chance to do your online giving, you can do that now. And I think that Judith is going to unmute everybody, and you can kind of chat and say goodbye. And